What would you do if the one rule of your job was the one thing you couldn't resist breaking? Ava had just started her job as an overnight security guard at the old Morrison estate. The sprawling mansion, once home to a wealthy industrialist, had been converted into a museum, but was currently undergoing renovations. Ava's job was simple: patrol the grounds, monitor the cameras, and follow one golden rule: never open the locked door in the West Wing. "What's behind it?" she had asked during her orientation. Her supervisor, a grizzled man named Hal, had shrugged. "No idea. All I know is it's off limits. Don't ask questions, and don't go near it." Ava had laughed nervously, thinking it was just a way to mess with the new hire. But as the days turned into weeks, she couldn't shake her curiosity. The West Wing was eerily quiet, and the locked door loomed at the end of the hallway, its brass handle gleaming faintly under the flickering light. One night, when the hours dragged on and boredom set in, Ava found herself standing in front of it. The air felt colder here, and a faint humming sound seemed to emanate from behind the door. She reached out, hesitating, before pulling her hand back. "Not tonight," she muttered to herself, retreating to the security office. The following nights were uneventful. Ava spent her shifts pacing the halls, sipping bad coffee, and watching the cameras. But her thoughts kept drifting back to the locked door. What was so important, or dangerous, that it had to be sealed away? One night, around 3 a.m., the cameras began to glitch. The feed from the West Wing flickered, static filling the monitors. Ava frowned, tapping the screen. The glitches cleared for a moment, revealing the empty hallway, except for a faint shadow moving across the floor. Her stomach tightened. She grabbed her flashlight and headed for the West Wing. The hallway was as silent as ever, but the air felt heavier, pressing against her chest. The locked door stood at the end, its brass handle reflecting her flashlight beam. The humming sound was louder now, almost like a low chant. Ava's pulse quickened as she stepped closer. She crouched, pressing her ear against the door. The sound was clearer now, rhythmic and unsettling, like voices murmuring in unison. "This is insane," she whispered, backing away. But as she turned to leave, the humming stopped. A sudden, deafening silence filled the hallway, broken only by the sound of the door handle turning. Ava froze, her heart hammering in her chest. The handle twisted slowly, as if someone, or something, was trying to open the door from the other side. She stepped back, her flashlight trembling in her hand. "Hello?" she called out, her voice barely above a whisper. The door creaked open an inch, and icy air poured out, carrying the faint smell of damp earth. Ava shone her flashlight into the crack, but saw only darkness. Against every instinct, she reached out and pushed the door open wider. The room beyond was vast and cold, its stone walls lined with shelves holding dusty artifacts. At the center stood a circular table, and on it, a strange object glowed faintly. A black, jagged stone that seemed to pulse with an unnatural light. The chanting resumed, louder now, and the shadows in the corners of the room began to move. They coalesced into shapes, figures with hollow eyes and twisted, unnatural forms. Ava stumbled back, her flashlight beam shaking as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. One of the figures stepped forward, its skeletal hand reaching for her. "You shouldn't be here," it rasped, its voice echoing in her mind. Ava turned and ran, the door slamming shut behind her. The humming stopped, and the hallway was silent once more. She leaned against the wall, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. When Hal arrived for the morning shift, he found Ava waiting in the parking lot, her face pale and her hands shaking. She told him everything, but he simply shook his head. "I warned you," he said, his tone a mix of frustration and fear. "That door should never have been opened." Ava quit that same day, unable to face another night in the mansion. She never learned what the stone was or why it was hidden away, but the memory of the shadows and the chanting haunted her dreams. Months later, the museum abruptly closed, citing structural issues in the West Wing. The mansion remains abandoned to this day, the locked door still standing at the end of the hallway, waiting for the next curious soul to break the rule. Would you have opened the door? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that push the boundaries of fear. Until next time, remember, some secrets are better left locked away.